Well, there are plenty of home improvement projects that you can comfortably do on your own in a do-it-yourself project or a DIY project. But experts say some projects should be left to the professionals.
Yeah, a drywall project, for instance. You may recall a few years back there were some health concerns over drywall installation, more specifically the drywall products that were made in China beginning in 2001. According to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, some drywall products from certain makers in China are contaminated with high levels of sulfur. Now, that may be responsible for a rotten egg smell in affected homes, blackened or corroded pipes, failure of air conditioners and other household appliances, and a myriad of health issues, including asthma, coughing, headaches, sore throats, and irritated eyes.
Wow. Didn't know about that. If you do choose to tackle a drywall DIY project, there is a lot to consider. Angie Hicks of Angie's List tells us what we'll need from beginning to end and if you should consider leaving this job to the professionals. Painting and wallpapering are popular DIY home improvement projects, but they can quickly become complicated if your walls aren't in good shape. For most homes, that means your drywall needs to be a flat, even canvas that will easily accept your new paint or wallpaper.
DIY projects can be a lot of fun, but honestly, drywall is a lot harder than it looks. It's heavy material, takes lots of tools. It's really best left to the professionals.
Even small drywall repair jobs can get messy and complicated, but those jobs can be DIY'd, especially if you're handy. But finishing a basement or other room with no drywall in place or installing new drywall to repair damaged walls is another story.
The reason why it's not a good DIY job is that if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to look pretty bad in the end product. So a professional knows how to install it, especially like a whole house. If you go to try to do a whole house, a whole basement, it could take you days. A professional can do a house of this size in a day, him and a couple other guys.
Hanging the drywall, which can weigh 80 pounds and generally takes a 3-person crew, is just step one of a 4-step process. Next comes mudding, taping, and sanding, all very detailed and necessary to provide that flat, even canvas.
For a 12 by 14 room, it'll take a professional about 3 or 4 hours to hang a room that size and a few days to finish it and get it ready for paint. For a 12 by 14 room, a DIY project, it could probably turn into weeks, if not a month, pretty quickly.
If you do want to DIY this project, Angie suggests you evaluate whether your home is the right fit. Remember, not every drywall DIY project is created equal. It's important to know the needs specific to your home.
If you have a basement that has a water issue, we would recommend that you use mold and mildew resistant drywall, and before you even start on the drywall, try to address the water situation.
Also, ask yourself, do you have the time and the tools to do it right? The average homeowner may not have some of the tools needed to get the job done right and may not need them again after the job is done.
Do you have a hawk? Do you have a mud pan? Do you have a putty knife laying around your house? I know I don't. Those are all different types of tools you're going to use even for a small drywall job. If you're drywalling an entire room, it's going to be even more materials. That's why this is a job that when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it is really probably best priced out by a professional.
Angie's List says the cost of a professional drywall installation job for a 12 by 14 room starts at about $200 with extra costs coming in for those follow-up steps.
Well, something else that we do around the house, especially during these winter months, is shovel our driveways and sidewalks. But as with most physical activity, if you don't do it correctly, you could seriously injure yourself. Delmarva Life's Sean Stryker swung by Delmarva Chiropractic in Salisbury to find out the right way to show us.
Well, Jimmy and Lisa, I didn't know shoveling snow was in my job description, so I went back and I read the fine print, and sure enough, there it was. It said snow shoveler. So if I'm going to shovel snow, I might as well do it right. I'm out here talking to Dr. McCamey from Delmarva Chiropractic. Thanks for joining me, doctor. How you doing?
I'm doing great today, Sean. How are you?
I'm cold, but I'm doing all right. So you're telling me that there's a right way and a wrong way to shovel snow.
That's exactly right, Sean. There is a good way and a bad way, especially when it comes to your back for proper snow shoveling.
So what is it that's happening to your back when you're shoveling snow?
Well, it's like any other athletic event, Sean. If you come out and you haven't taken time to warm up, you haven't taken time to appropriately prepare yourself, you can actually break down through overuse the fibers of the muscles in your back, and then you can have a back strain.
So the right way and the wrong way, it starts with warming up. It
Sure.
also comes down to equipment. So you want to make sure your shovel is right for you. Right? What's some of the differences?
Absolutely. You want to use a shovel that's appropriately of the appropriate weight. You want to have a good straight or curved handle that is set up for your height so that you're not trying to bend too far or trying to lift too high to use it to move the snow.
And then the actual technique, there's a right way for that as well.
Sure,
Don't
there is.
shovel, right? That's what you're saying.
Right, yeah, so you don't want to fling the snow over your shoulder both ways and then eventually, once again, break down those fibers of the muscles of your back, or even you can even injure a disc when you do that.
Yeah, and you were saying a full shovel of wet snow can weigh upwards of 25 pounds. So if you're doing that a couple hundred times, you're moving a lot of weight.
Absolutely, and it's repetitive motion that actually injures your back.
Okay, so I'm going to show you guys at home the right way. So you said you want me to push the snow,
Right.
and then at the end, that's when you shovel it.
That's exactly right.
Okay, just kind of walk behind it,
Yeah,
and when you get to the end, flip it over.
perfect.
There we go.
Absolutely, you're not rotating your back. You're doing a nice little lift with your legs bent just a little bit and moving
I'm going
that
to do it
snow.
one more time so everyone can see it at home.
You
So, now let's say I'm doing this and I'm doing it the right way, but I still manage to hurt my back. What are some of the things I can do after I'm finished shoveling?
Well, as soon as you know that you've injured yourself, you want to stop. So stop shoveling. You go in, once you get inside, you want to take a little break. You want to rest. And then if you feel like you've still got some muscle pain back there, you can use, again, the thing that you do with any type of athletic injury. Rest, ice, and compression are always great. So you can use some ice on your low back or maybe a topical that gives you a little bit of pain relief. And just wait. Really, it's a waiting process.
And if the pain persists, then consult a physician.
Absolutely, sure. If your pain goes past 72 hours and it hasn't gotten any better, if it worsens, you should see a physician. And if you have anything, it's like bilateral or leg pain in both sides, that can indicate that you've done something more than just a muscle sprain or a strain.
Well, Dr. McCamey, that's some great information, some good tips. And guys at home, you know, winter's not over. We still have a couple weeks left until spring, and even then, you never know, there could be a snowstorm. If you want to read those tips again, all you got to do is go to our website, wboc.com, and click on our picture at the top of the page. I would say I'm going to stay out here and finish shoveling, but I'm not going to send it back to you guys.
Sounds like someone I know, my teenager.
Well, I've got one of
You
those.
got one of
Isn't that
those
amazing
too?
how that works out?
Well, something that is certainly good for our bones, muscles, and overall health is exercise. After the break, WBOC's Brittany Cooper gives us a Zumba lesson. We learn just how fun dancing your way to fit can be.
I'm about to dance my way over to the Delmarva Life kitchen. Still ahead, we're making baked oysters. Delmarva Life will be right back.